What is up, everyone? It is again almost time for the new set, which means we have the top 5 brews for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and this is number 3 in the top 5 brews. So after this one, there's 2 more on their way. Today we are looking at a Dimir deck. This is Malcolm Proliferate. So let's get into it. Before we get into the deck tech, just a reminder, we have the early access streamer event on November 9th and 10th. I plan to be streaming over on Twitch from the 9th, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. PST. Hope you can make it out, and if you do end up missing it, fear not, I will be posting those games onto YouTube. So, yeah, hope to see you there. Alrighty, so as I mentioned, Malcolm Proliferate. So what is this deck? It is based around this new card, Malcolm the Alluring Scoundrel. It's a Siren Pirate for 2 mana, 1 and a blue. It has Flash and Flying, and its stats are 2/1. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a chorus counter on it, draw a card, and then discard a card. And if there are 4 more chorus counters on it, you may cast the discarded card without paying its mana cost. So most of the time, this is just going to be a 2 mana, 2/1 that you flash in the end of the opponent's end step, and you on turn 3 play something like Kaito or Gix, and you're going to get free cards off that because they didn't have time to react to your flash creature. So that's part of the game plan, but we are also playing a Proliferate deck to try to get the secondary ability on Malcolm of the free mana casted card. So, if you can get in 1 time with Malcolm, we can proliferate a couple times, get it up to 4 counters, and then swing it in again. And if it hits the 2nd time, you get a free card. So that's kind of the goal. Of course, if we don't get it, it's not the end of the world. Probably people are going to want to kill this because that's a pretty sweet ability. And so yeah, it's a little bit scary of a card for them. So the shell of the deck is very similar to the Dimir midrange that's popular right now, or was recently popular, I guess, in Standard. But I've also kind of merged it with my Dimir Proliferate deck that I had back a few sets ago in the 1 set, the All Will Be 1 set. So that deck was pretty good. It had Voidwing Hybrid, it had Kaito and Liliana, and it had Experimental Augury and Drown and Ichor and stuff like that. And a lot of times you would actually get your Planeswalkers to, get to 7 loyalty or whatever to get their ultimate. So that's not that crazy to get there to win with that. Plus Voidwing Hybrid is very annoying for the opponent because, they use cut down, you can bring it back. If they use go for the throw, you can bring it back. So they really would need some sort of exile to permanently remove it. And if you can swing in 1 time, get that toxic going, then all your proliferate is gonna, bump it up to where it becomes kind of a risky threat for them. So the toxic is secondary. The evasive flying creatures that are annoying to deal with, that draw you cards, that's the main threat. Just like the Dimir midrange deck that is currently in Standard. And then we replaced the Evolved Sleeper with Stalactite Stalker. Probably not as good, but new card tax, plus it has some upsides that the Evolved Sleeper doesn't have. First of which, it has Menace, so it's a little bit harder to block, meaning this can also pretty easily swing in and trigger your Kaito or trigger your Gix. It does grow bigger the more cards we discard, so Malcolm discards cards, Kaito and Liliana both discard cards. So those are all going to trigger the Stalactite Stalker's effects. Of course, it only works on the permanent cards. That may be the key thing that makes it not worth it. Because, we do have a lot of permanents, 7 Planeswalkers, 16 creatures, but we also have, a decent amount of sorceries and instants as well. So we'll see. Lands do count as permanents, so, maybe worst case scenario, you're discarding some lands to trigger the Stalactite Stalker. That doesn't seem that bad. And if the opponent kills one of your creatures, that also triggers the Stalker. So that's pretty good too. And we're running Make Disappear, which has casualty 1. So we may at some point like sacrifice our Voidwing hybrid here, trigger the casualty for Make Disappear, and also end up triggering the Stalactite Stalker's growth ability. So that's the main synergy there. We've got a few one-ofs for spiciness and because they fit pretty well. And it's hard to decide which is the best. So we can try a few one-ofs in the initial step. We find what we like, make the cuts, adjust things, etc. So the one-ofs that we got are Ingenious Prodigy. This is kind of a pet card of mine, I guess. It hasn't really seen a lot of play yet, but the few times that I've played with it, I've been very pleased with it. Even if you just cast it for like 3 mana, 2/3 Shulk, so it can't really be blocked well. And then you can end up drawing 2 cards from it. That's quite good. Because of the way this deck works, it actually has a lot of synergy. So I'm kind of thinking that this is almost the perfect deck for it. We'll have to see. We'll have to see, but if you cast it on like turn 3, it comes with 2 counters. You swing in. Now you've triggered your Kaito and your Gix because it can't really be blocked. And then in your upkeep, you'll draw a card, but it puts it down to a 1/2. So how do we deal with that? It's losing counters and we're drawing cards. Well, we're playing a Proliferate deck, right? So we're going to be able to put counters back on it with our Experimental Augury, Drown an Ichor, Serum Snare, and Vraska. So yeah, that's it. The kind of hope is you can use it to swing in, trigger your Kaito and Gix, and you can also get the free cards by proliferating. So seems pretty good, but we'll see. I'm also running a one of Shieldred. The reason why is this card is pretty good on its own. 5 mana, kills the creature from the opponent. It has a flip ability for 5 mana where it turns into a saga that has some really nice effects. However, the caveat is the opponent has to have 8 cards in their graveyard, which is a little bit hard to get until late game. Of course, we have removal spells, which does help with that a little bit. But that's the only part that's makes me a little bit unsure to include this card. However, if we do flip it to the backside, because we have Proliferate, we get to really, really abuse this backside of this card. So for each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker they control. And then phase 2, each opponent discards 3 cards and then mills 3 cards. And then phase 3, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. And then it flips back into Shieldred. So yeah, part of the reason why this was sees a little bit less play is because the backside is a little bit too slow. And so with Proliferate, we can speed this backside up and really kind of abuse this card. So I'm hoping it'll be good kind of towards the late game. Maybe when you can trigger Malcolm to cast it a little bit early could be good too. That's kind of my hope for that. Other one-ofs, we got Serum Snare. This is another Proliferate card, and it's also kind of like a protection because you can return non-land permanent to its owner's hand, meaning it can be your stuff. And then if it's 3 or less, you proliferate. So you can, bounce one of your creatures, your Gix maybe. Maybe you have like Malcolm and Gix, and they go, oh, I'll kill Gix so they don't draw a card. You bounce it back to your hand, and you put a Proliferate for the counter on Malcolm. So, is it perfect? No. Is it pretty good in this deck? It synergizes quite well because most things are 3 mana or less. Yes. Including our planeswalkers, we can bounce these back. You can put a Lily down, kill something. Next turn, bounce it back, do it again. So, got some pretty nice synergies in here. And final spicy one of Ichormore Gauntlet. This is a card that people were kind of hyped about, and then it didn't really pan out. But it is kind of like a super proliferate. It enables all your planeswalkers to have proliferate, and also whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to kind of proliferate essentially. So I want to try at least one of, because we are running a lot of Kaito and Lilies and stuff like that. Giving them Proliferate would definitely benefit the deck. And then if we cast any removal cards here at the bottom while that's in play, then we can put counters onto our planeswalkers, put counters on our creatures, etc. So yeah, it seems like it could be good. One of probably is not going to hurt anything and might be kind of clutch in certain situations. I think the only thing I didn't mention was Vraska here. I know it's in the Phyrexian text, a little hard to read, but this is one of the planeswalkers which has Proliferate as the 0 ability, draw a card and Proliferate. So that's the main reason we're playing it. Also, you can cast it from your Malcolm if you get the 4 counters on Malcolm. So that's another benefit. All right, that's the main idea of the deck. Few lands that are interesting. Blast Zone works well with Proliferate. Trying out this Drannith Ruins, which lets you put counters on your creatures, non-human creatures, but most of the creatures we are running are non-human, so could be good. And then Mirrex, of course, Restless Leaf, the new manland in the new set. So that is it. Yeah, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, both of those decks on their own were quite good. The Dimir mid-range and standard, the Proliferate deck back in the 1 standard. So hoping the combination of them will be good. I mean, I think it will be good, but it might be tier 1.5 or tier 2. Anyway, that's it for number 3. Hope to catch you on the early access event, and until next time, see ya.